All right, please introduce yourself, state your name and DOC number for the record.
My name is Gregory Leeming, 308687.
All right, Mr. Leeming, my name is Brennan Kelsey. Along with me is Mr. Anthony Marabella. Mr. Pete Freeman will be your panel. Explain the process to you, read some information to the record, have a parole interview, ask you some questions. You can respond at the end. You can make a statement. We'll take a vote. You understand the process? You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
And it looks like we have a lot of guests here. We're going to try to limit it to 3 guests to speak. That's how we do it here. Daryl Miles, Jim Azar, Beth Leeming, Doris Henderson, Miss Kelly Gizmandi. You can speak at the end.
Yes, sir.
Windsor Richmond, Robert Leeming, and Sharon Leeming. Okay. Gregory Leeming, DOC number 308687, your first class offender, parole eligibility date 3/24/2023, good time 7/22/2039, full term 1/1/2090, 99-year sentence. You had a commutation of sentence signed by Governor Edwards for 2nd-degree murder on March the 24th, 2023. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Would you answer Mr. Barbella's questions, please?
Good morning, Mr. Leeming. How are you today, sir?
I'm grateful for the opportunity, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Leeming, how old are you, sir?
69,
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
32 years.
Tell me a little bit about who you were 32 years ago. Tell me about Mr. Leeming. Were you working?
At the time of the crime, no, sir.
Okay. What were you doing? How were you supporting yourself?
At the time of the crime, I was on my way back to working offshore in Morgan City.
And where were you living?
Well, I was in California for 9 months prior to December 1990. I was in an alcohol rehab program. And
Go ahead.
okay, I didn't complete the program. I came back to Louisiana and wanted to go back to work offshore.
Let's talk a little bit about your drinking. When did you start drinking?
Let's see, I think I was, it kind of blossomed when I was about 17.
Okay. Did you ever do drugs?
Yes, sir, I did.
What kind of drugs did you do?
Well, it started with marijuana and led to some hallucinogenics. And then like early 80s, cocaine.
Okay. So how often were you doing drugs? How long did you do drugs?
Not long. I wasn't so addicted to drugs as I was the alcohol, and it was easy for me to put down drugs, but it increased my drinking.
How often
Drinking
were you
was the
drinking?
problem.
How often were you drinking?
Well, when I worked offshore, I couldn't drink. So I worked usually 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off on a supply boat. So I didn't drink for 4 weeks at a time. But when I came in, things changed.
Now, you said you were in California in a rehab program. What were you doing in that rehab program? How did you get into that rehab program?
Well, it was a veterans rehab program, VAMC, alcohol treatment.
I guess my question is, what prompted you to go to the program? Were you court ordered to the program? Did you go voluntarily or what?
Yes, sir, I went voluntarily.
Why California?
Just to get away from the East Coast. just to try to get away from a geographic change, I think they call it.
How many times have you been in rehab or have taken treatment?
7 times.
7 times.
Yes,
7
sir.
times before this crime.
Yes, sir.
What different places were you in? What geographical locations? Where did you go?
Brockton, Massachusetts, Albany, New York, twice in New Orleans, and 1 in Palo Alto, California.
But your alcoholism was so strong, you relapsed. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened on December the 30th of 1990. Tell me about the crime that you committed, the murder that you committed. Tell me what you remember, what you were doing that day.
Okay. Me and my friend Caroline were in the motel bar about 3:30 in the morning, and we we went back to my motel room, and I accused her of stealing money from me, and the result was me stabbing her in the chest once, and the 3 wounds were lethal.
How long were you in a relationship with her?
1988. It was only about 2 years.
How much had you been drinking that day?
Well, I returned on Christmas Day, 1990, and immediately started drinking. So that was 5 days after being sober for 9 months. Yeah.
Now, most of your criminal history involves intoxication. Fair to say that most of the crimes and most of the times you were arrested, you were drunk?
Yes, all 3 times.
Let's talk about a little bit what you've done while you've been in prison. You've been in prison now for 32 years. What programs have you taken that you think have helped you the most?
Victim awareness is was a real good one. It covers a lot about the victims and how they feel about the crime I committed and the pain that I caused them. Not just Caroline's family, but my own family as well. And actually, it makes me personally want to give back to other people. Empathy. I believe we described it as empathy, where I identify with the victim's feelings, but actually want to do something about it. Well, what can I do? Okay, in my case, I can hopefully prevent another alcoholic from coming. That's what I got from victim awareness. And that's what
Go ahead.
Sorry.
We're having a little trouble. Probably on this end, we may be a little delay in our talking. We're having the same thing with you. So I'm not sure when you stop or when you continue to talk. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's difficult to know when you're stopping talking. Okay, so if I do interrupt you, continue on. I want to hear what you have to say. Okay. So let's talk now,
Yes,
and I'm going to let you talk since we're having this kind of a disruption here. Talk to me about your sobriety. Talk to me about Your AA, it looks to me like you've been in sober groups since 1991, since you've been in prison. So talk to me about what you've learned about your alcoholism and how you hope to be able to combat your alcoholism if you're freed, how you're going to stay sober. So tell me what you've accomplished in prison with reference to your alcoholism and how you hope to carry that forward.
Well, in prison is pretty much like the free world. We follow the 12 steps and practice the 12 steps in our everyday lives. So that's the foundation. I have lost the desire to drink. It's just not there anymore. And every program that I've taken, Judge Marabella, reminds me that I always will be an alcoholic. And it's a disease that also tells me I don't have a disease. And that's why I relapsed so many times before. But now I know better. And because of this incarceration, 32 years of sobriety, I'm very proud of that. And sobriety to me is the key to success. If I stay sober, I'm good. I'm good. And I believe I can.
How do you plan to do?
Tell me how you hope to stay sober when you get out.
Come on.
Number one, I don't want to drink. I must emphasize that. I do not want to drink. My Bob and Sharon here, my support system in Georgia, my brother and his wife, they don't drink and use drugs. Number three, we're going to go to the Alive and Well AA group in Hartwell, Georgia. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday night, 7 p.m. So we're going to go to meetings. Again, I can't emphasize how important sobriety is to me. And I want to try to, if I can restore sobriety in the life of another alcoholic, then I've made an impact. I'm giving back. I can't bring back Caroline's life. However, I might be able to prevent another alcoholic from committing another senseless homicide. And I really want to do that through AA, through the church, maybe through the sheriff's department. But I'm going to do that.
Now, your transition plan is to go to Georgia, is that right, with your brother?
Yes, sir.
You've had 8 write-ups in 32 years. That's an excellent disciplinary record. You're a low risk. Tell me a little bit about, you've been a trustee since how long?
2006.
What can you tell us about Mr. Leeming?
Gregory, currently a member B trustee, has been, like you said, since 2006. The majority of Gregory's time as far as work with us has been an orderly in the chapel. Tiger score is low. He's taken some programming that he needed to take. Like you saw, you mentioned his disciplinary record. We've not had a whole lot of issues at all with Gregory.
Thank you. That's all right.
All right, thank you. We hear from Darrell Miles, a brief statement from Darrell Miles, First 72. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thing.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, I'm going to defer my comments with the exception of saying, I've been knowing Greg for about 25 years. He is a very disciplined person, and him saying that his goal is to assist another alcoholic in their sobriety, I'm confident that he will do that because he is a very disciplined person. And me as a person, and I'm the First 72 supports him, even though he's transferring to Georgia. We support him 100%. And that's all we would like to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Here from Mr. Jim Azar. Go ahead, Mr. Jim.
Can you hear me now? Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've known Greg since first grade, over 60 years. I've been in contact with him through his incarceration. For years, he's expressed his remorse and his guilt and his shame about this. And I think you can kind of see it right now, kind of reflected in how he's reacting. I can give you a little background about where he's at. I grew up in the same neighborhood with him. He did not come from a violent family. He came from a really good family, a really good neighborhood. We went to Catholic school together. The crime completely is inconsistent with who he is as an individual. As you accurately pointed out, it's all about his alcoholism. Alcohol absolutely transformed him. As an aside, I'm a psychologist. On a couple of occasions, I got him into rehab. He's a very decent man. What I am pretty impressed with is that in all his years in prison, he hasn't turned into a bitter, angry man. In fact, if anything, I think he's actually gotten softer and a little bit more wise. He's really worked hard at kind of acknowledging how much alcohol has completely ruined his life. Drugs were really not his drug of choice. That's not where he was at. He was a
Yes, sir.
alcoholic.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And I guess finally, just not to take up too much of your time, I really do believe that it's crucial for him to give something back to society. And I think it will be in the form of either the church group or AA, but his life can't end like this. He's got a hell of a lot more to give back. So I'd be a strong advocate.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. Now we'll hear from Mr. Robert Leeming. Robert, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. I think Greg is ready for the outside world, just through the courses that he's taken here in the prison, and just his record, his disciplinary record. He's ready for the outside world, and I'm going to take good care of him. I'm going to make sure he gets to these meetings, and he's going to be going to church quite a bit too, because I like to go to church. And we got a brand new pastor from Vietnam. Things are going to be all right with him. I'll make sure of that. And he has plenty of work to do around my property, a lot of tree work, and he'll be outdoors in the woods with me.
All right. Yes, sir.
I want him back home. I want to take care of him.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your comment.
Yeah.
Now we'll hear from Mr. Randy Meyer.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA Jefferson Parish, and we're opposed to Mr. Leeming. As a violent crime where she stabbed his victim in the chest and in the neck, killing her. And I understand because of his original sentence, he had limited availability of programs early in his incarceration career, but Since then, he's taken a few programs, including the Living in Balance 1 and 2. But, if you look back, I think since at least 1972, which was his first alcohol-related arrest, at least since that time, he's had a serious alcohol issue. He's stated here today that 7 times that he's been in rehab, and he has relapsed each of those times. I'm very concerned about that. I think additional substance abuse treatment while incarcerated would be beneficial to him. So those reasons we're opposed to his request.
Great, thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Leeming, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to apologize to Caroline's family and friends. And it was a terrible crime that I committed. And it's never going to go away. I mean, I'll be regretful for the rest of my life. And if I could turn back the time, I would. I thank God we didn't have any children. And I'm totally ashamed of what I did. And I know why it happened, and I know how to correct it. And I have corrected it. But I'm going to carry on and give the message to other alcoholics. Where you could end up getting a life sentence for murder if you continue to drink. And that's what they told me, but I didn't listen. But I know now. And again, I apologize to friends and family of Caroline Alford. And God rest her soul.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Kelly Mandy, would you like to wrap up?
Yeah, yes, thank you. Good morning and may it please the board. My name is Kelly Gizmondi and I, along with Windsor Richmond, represent Mr. Leeming. Mr. Leeming was before the board in June of 2021 when this board unanimously recommended him for clemency. He has since obtained the signature of Governor John Bell Edwards granting his clemency and now seeks release on parole. After having heard from Mr. Leeming, his friends and family, I hope the board can see what is evident to us, that Mr. Leeming is an excellent candidate for parole because he is not the same man that entered the Louisiana State Penitentiary 32 years ago. While he cannot change his actions, which took the life of Miss Caroline Alford, he has spent over 30 years atoning for those actions. Mr. Leeming has dedicated countless hours to his self-improvement through courses regarding spirituality, empathy, and sobriety. While we believe Mr. Leeming's testimony and record speaks for itself, we would like to briefly bring the board's attention to just a few of his accomplishments. He has completed the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous at least twice. He has completed the Alcoholics Anonymous Speak Up class, the AA 12 Traditions class. He regularly seeks redemption and guidance through Bible study and his faith-based work. And additionally, he's completed over 100 hours of pre-release programming, including Thinking for a Change, Victims Awareness, Reentry Support classes, and anger management courses. His consistency in his behavioral record, his status as a trustee, and his commitment to the same job at the Interfaith Chapel for roughly 23 years further demonstrates his commitment to continued personal progress. Mr. Leeming's dedication to self-improvement has deepened his understanding and remorse for the harm that he caused Mrs. Alford, her family, his own family, and the entire community. If granted parole, Mr. Leeming will be living with his brother, Bob, and sister-in-law, Sharon, who are you as aware are present here today and traveled from Hartwell, Georgia. They are deeply committed to Mr. Leeming's continued efforts in his lifelong journey for redemption and self-improvement. Sharon and Bob do not drink and are deeply spiritual people who will undoubtedly positively affect Mr. Leeming. We understand that Mr. Leeming's interstate compact has been approved and he will live and work in Hartwell, Georgia, where he will have direct access to sobriety programming, which he and his brother have already researched in detail, which he mentioned. He will have his family support and quick and easy access to his parole supervision there in Hartwell. He has the emotional, financial, and legal support of his friends and family. We hope that after hearing from Mr. Leeming and reviewing his excellent record, that is evident that Mr. Leeming is not the same man he was 32 years ago. He is an exceptional candidate for parole and will not befoul a second chance if given by this board. For these reasons, we ask that this board grant Mr. Leeming's parole under whatever conditions deemed necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Panel prepared to vote. Mr. Marabella?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Leeming, I've enjoyed the interview with you. I appreciate your honesty. You've been very honest about your alcoholism. You have been in rehab a number of times, as Mr. Meyer pointed out, 7 times, and it's never worked. While it's true, you haven't gone through our Steve Hall program or any of the programs that we have for treatment per se. In reviewing your record, you've been in AA since 1991. You have done a lot of work. You've talked about today what your sobriety plan is. You talked about how it is that you believe you'll be able to maintain your sobriety. And I believe, as a former drug court judge for many years, I believe that the 12 steps is a good blueprint for life, not just for alcoholics or drug addicts. It's a good blueprint for life, just as you suggested. So I think that you're on that right track. I think that I believe, from what I understand you to say, even though you may not want to drink or care to drink, you can't drink. And you need to be vigilant about that and make sure that you don't fall back into that situation. It sounds like you've got a good transition plan for that. You've got a good prison record. You've got a good disciplinary record. You've done well. You've done good community service work while you've been in prison. And you have a great sobriety plan. My vote today would be to grant your parole, ICOTS to Georgia, conditioned on ICOTS to Georgia with the following conditions: that you do 3 AA meetings per week, as well as 5 hours of community service work. I think you've got a good story to tell people. And I think that you're talking about wanting to give back to the community. That's a good way of giving back to the community and educating and helping alcoholics. So that would be my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Right, Mr. Freeman?
I also vote to grant, Mr. Leeming, and I really encourage you to speak to the youth and younger people, because they need to know. I mean, alcoholism is a disease, and look where it led you. You took someone's life. So my vote is to grant.
Right, you have 2 votes to grant. I'm also going to vote to grant your parole to the ICOTS to Georgia. You'll have NAA 3 times a week. You'll have community service 5 hours per month, and I want you to have a curfew from 10p to 6a. No sense in you be hanging out late anyway, so they'll have you, unless you're at church or something. But that's your, you understand stipulations?
Yes, sir.
3 votes to grant. Your parole's been granted. Good luck to you.